Me, 32, and my sister, 37, are not as close as we used to be because of some messed up stuff that happened years ago. I had my son Jesse, 9, pretty young. Months after that, to my surprise, my ex was pregnant again. Only I knew it wasn't me because having an infant to take care of and provide for left me with zero interest in love. And we found out it was my sister's fiance, ex now, that she was seeing behind our backs. It hurt. Worst pain ever, but for my son's sake I tried to get past it. I come from a family of half-sibs too, so I wanted my son to be close to his half-brother, Keith. Surprise, not only were they, my ex and my sister's ex, horrible lying cheaters, but also terrible parents. Both got hooked on meds, only escalated from there. He got locked up when Keith was 3. This particular issue with my sister happened a couple years ago. My ex got sick, she was scared of Keith ending up in foster care like her, and I didn't want that for him either. I legally adopted him before she passed when he was 6. Not everyone in my family was on board at first, but he's the kind of kid that is hard not to love, so they warmed up to him. My sister never did. She hated that I brought the son of her ex-fiancé into my family. And I understood why it was painful, but Keith's and Jesse's best interest were my main priority. That's how we drifted apart. Last weekend was my birthday and had a small barbecue at my place. My parents have tried hard to mend things between us, so they convinced me to let her come too so we can chat. I thought that meant she was cool with Keith because obviously the three of us are a package deal. I asked my parents how would she feel about Keith. They said not to worry about it. Again, I took it as she came around. Only she wasn't told he would also be present. But how could he not be? He lives there. My sister got there and she was mad when she saw him. She very specifically said, "I thought this was family only, what's he doing here?" Loud enough where he could have easily heard, but thankfully he was playing with his brother. My sister was pissed because my parents told her Keith wouldn't be around. And I got pissed when she told me she didn't want him here, expecting me to do something about it. So I just told her to leave, and she's not welcome here then. There was some back and forth from her and my parents. I didn't want that kind of talk around my son, so still made her leave. My mom seems to think I was a huge idiot for kicking her out of my party instead of trying to work things out. Like they take Keith somewhere out of sight while me and her talk. But to me, what's the point of us working it out if that's how she still feels toward my son? Well, this is still causing some conflict since I escalated the feud by making her leave instead of actually talking to her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Why did your parents tell her Keith would not be around? This makes no sense. And then saying you were an idiot? Not fair. You did the right thing in that situation. But try to talk to your sister and tell her, he is your kid. And if she does not want to see him, it'll be quite possible you see each other never again. Absolutely not the idiot. The fact your sister expected you to remove your son, a child, from his home so she can attend a party is insane. It's not the child's fault who his bio parents are, and anyone with ill will towards an innocent child because they dislike their parents needs to grow up. You did nothing wrong, you protected your son. You are not the idiot. While your sister is an idiot for telling something horrible which could have been potentially heard by Keith, I believe your parents are even more so. They told her Keith wouldn't be there. They lied to get her up there, and that led to this. While I sympathize with you on the situation, your sister may never see Keith as family. You may never be close to your sister as a result. It's a fact, and your parents should accept the fact rather than try to mend it and make it even worse. Communicate to your parents and be firm. I, 22, have been with my fiancé 20 for 2 years and recently got engaged. I handle cooking while he takes care of other stuff including rent and utility. He's been eating a lot lately. I started cooking in large pots and buying extra ingredients. He usually tells me what he'd like to eat for dinner. Note, I only cook dinner 3 times a week. Other than that, we have plenty of leftovers. So on to the situation. Last night I cooked dinner early because he wanted to eat early. I prepared his plate and put my plate in the fridge ready to reheat for later. I was finished with studying and took a shower, then went into the kitchen to reheat my dinner and sat at the table by myself and began eating. My fiancé came out of the bedroom saying he smelled the food while he was inside playing video games and thought of joining me because he was hungry. Without even asking, he put his hand on my plate wanting to eat from it. I stopped him and told him he was being selfish as he already had a larger portion of what cooked dinner, and the food on my plate was barely enough for me. He complained about being hungry from playing video games. I told him I was hungry because of studying. He made a face and went to grab a spoon so we could eat together. I pulled my plate away and pointed at the fridge, telling there was some leftovers in the fridge and he could go ahead and reheat some if he was so hungry. He refused and insisted to share my dinner. I stood my ground and didn't let him. He got all pissed, threw his spoon in the sink and spit on my plate. I was 100% taken by surprise and was so livid and disgusted. I shouted, "What the hell did he just do?" He just smirked at me, telling me to enjoy as he walked out. I called him freaking childish and he turned around and walked back in, saying I was the one acting like a high school bully for refusing to let him share my dinner and telling him to just have leftovers. I said he was being selfish and pretty to spit in my plate to stop me from eating, and he managed to do it. I was so upset and I couldn't eat what was in my plate. It was gross and disgusting. I threw it in the garbage can. And he threw another fit asking why I threw away perfect food, and he was counting on me giving it to him after he spit on it. We had a major fight, probably the biggest fight we've ever had thus far. He says I was wrong. I escalated and wants me to apologize first so we could put this past us, but I said no way I'd apologize after he ruined my dinner and disregarded the time and effort I made to prepare dinner. He's already eaten and he's hungry from playing video games? You're wanting to marry a child. A child that is selfish enough to ruin your meal because he feels entitled to it. Do not walk, run away. You have got to see this as a sign. This will not get better over time. You are not the idiot, just a hungry person that's tired of babysitting and looking for confirmation. Hope your plans can still be cancelled. Not the idiot. This is insane. The exact same food was available, he just had to get it. Instead, spit in your food and got mad you didn't give it to him afterwards? It doesn't sound like he was too busy to reheat a plate of food. Playing video games. He treats you like I would expect a spoiled little kid to treat their mom. Definitely not an attitude I'd consider spending the rest of my life with. Get out of that relationship. Do you have a friend you could live with while you wrap up your studies? This is abusive. You can be independent from him, and you're so young. He can play his video games alone and cook for himself and spit in his own food from now on. Good luck to you. Not the idiot. Some background. My grandparents owned a 4-bedroom lake house with about an acre of land for about 25 years. Through the years they hosted many family events and people visited often to get free getaway. Last year they wanted to move into a nice old folks home that's basically a resort. To do that and finance the rest of the years they sold their main condo and put this up for sale. I bought it at what was a fair rate at the time. It has since gone up in value about 25% due to the recent housing surge. I just finished with some renovations and officially got it listed on Airbnb as a side hustle. This summer I've gotten lots of requests from family to visit and I've said no because it's being renovated. I also told them I intend to use it as an income stream, not a family vacation home. I got some pushback but held firm. Well, now my cousin just got engaged and they want to plan a May 2022 wedding on a specific day that has significance to them. This will end up being over Memorial Day weekend. My cousin Jean called me and asked if they could have it at the lake house since there's so much land for an outdoor wedding, and she and her fiance met there years ago. His family is friends with our family. I told her that I anticipate renting it out that weekend and that she can have first dibs for the days needed and sent her the link to reserve it. She then realized this would run her close to $6,000 plus deposits and service fees, so really like $8,000. She flipped out, saying that this is a family event and a family house so I shouldn't charge. She then said it should be like my wedding gift. I told her, Jean, my wedding was 3 years ago and you got me a set of knives, which I do like. It's not really fair to say I should basically give you $6,000. She flipped, called me greedy and a terrible family member and hung up. Since this, my parents, aunt and uncle, and one sister all told me that I was being greedy as well. My brother, who helped with the renovations, is on my side 100%, and my grandparents told me they'd love to see a wedding there but said they sold me the house with no conditions so they won't pressure me. But I've been getting so much flack from a couple people in my family. I get why she asked, but she and your whole family, except brother and grandparents, have to remember this isn't a family property anymore. You shelled out cold, hard cash for it and spent more money renovating it. Not the idiot. If she wants her wedding there, she has to pay. Maybe there's some sort of discount you could throw her way, but not required, and doesn't sound like she'd even appreciate it. You're technically not the idiot, but this still feels like a jerk move, honestly. Sometimes you have to choose between being technically right and maintaining relationships. If you value your relationship with your family, you may need to bite the bullet on this. What's more important? $6,000 or all the relationships you might never repair? Mind you, I might be a bit biased because I do feel that Airbnb is kind of a bane on the real estate market. Where was it stipulated in the sale that it is still a family vacation home? Would they be calling and harassing a non-family buyer? Are you obligated now because you are a family member and bought it? Because why? Because they said so? Did family pitch in on renovations? They all want to be sentimental with your money. Backstory: I'm a 29 and I've been in EMS for almost 7 years, but I've only been a paramedic on a department for about a year. Now on to the story. This happened a few shifts ago. We got a call at 0600 for a pediatric full arrest. When we got on scene, my heart dropped. The parents said that they put their 6-mo to bed last night and then went to bed. When Dad was about to leave for work, he opened the door to see his baby before leaving and noticed that the baby wasn't breathing. I stood there for a minute thinking about how I was going to tell these new parents the bad news. The baby was cold to the touch, pale, and lividity had set in. Their baby died in the middle of the night. I tried to convey my sympathy to them and told them that it wasn't their fault and tragedies like this happen. The parents were understandably inconsolable. The rest of the shift was silent. When I got home, I kept running that conversation with the parents in my head over and over again. I called up my friend and asked him if I could come over to talk. I went to his apartment and we talked for hours about it. I was just an emotional wreck because this was my first infant death. He tried to get me through this as best he could, but then his fiance came home from work. She came in the front door and instantly started complaining that she had the worst day ever because a customer gave her attitude. When she walked into the living room and saw me, she said, "I had a bad day and I don't want people over, so you need to leave right now." When my friend said that something terrible happened to me at work, she looked at him and said all he does is sit around, watch TV, and play Xbox. How terrible can it be? My friend and I were stunned. She kept going on and on about how I basically do 10 minutes of work on my 24-hour shifts and she works so much harder than me. I was already in a bad place emotionally, and hearing her say all those things just made my blood boil. I finally looked her in the eyes and said, "You don't know what a bad day even looks like. You were mildly annoyed for 5 minutes and that's it." I had to look 2 new parents in the eyes and tell them that their baby died last night while they were sleeping. Just the thought of knowing they called us to save their baby and I was powerless to do anything kills me inside, but I know that, no matter how bad I feel, they are feeling much worse. Now tell me, do you still think you're having a bad day? And then I stormed out. My friend called me a few days later to check up on me. I was doing better by then and had more time to process everything. He went on to say that he had a long talk with his fiance about what happened and said that what I told her really messed with her. She has been crying on and off since I left. I feel like I may be the idiot because I lashed out at her in rage and I could have handled that better. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You weren't an idiot at all. It's okay that she is upset. It means that she is learning and growing from that experience. It hurt her, but it burnt off a bad part of her personality, and because she didn't allow herself to deny her fault, she will be a better person. Don't mention it again. Your friend was a good guy, and she has learnt something important, hopefully. Not the idiot. She wanted to compare bad days and got her butt handed to her. Perhaps she should have a little more compassion for good folks like you that deal with traumatic stuff day in and out. I hope you are doing better and bless you for all that you do. Everyone's the idiot here. First of all, can people please stop comparing bad days, grief like it's a freaking contest? Just because you had a bad day, doesn't mean she isn't allowed to vent. Second of all, you went on your whole rant before she even knew what you went through. You acted like she was diminishing your trauma when she had no idea what you even went through. I'm 22, my niece is 16, and my sister is 34. My niece lives with us at the family home with our parents. My sister is unreachable for the next 2 weeks because she had a vacation planned with her boyfriend who she met on a dating app. I was working online when she asked if she could order food, so I gave her my card. She ordered it while sitting next to me, and the food came and that was it. Well, it wasn't until a few days later that I started getting unknown charges and lost a couple $100s. It took a lot of calling around and I went from calling my bank to these places to wherever could help me. Some of the money I got back, but some had no refunds. I called around more to figure out and found out it was clothes and makeup things. And since I don't buy these sort of things, I went to ask my niece first because nobody else in the house buys extravagant stuff like these. I told her if she did it, I at least wanted her to understand that she should have known better. I can't get my sister in touch and niece doesn't work, so I'm out the money. My niece proceeds to get emotional, says she just wanted to fit in with her friends because she's doing online summer school, and since she's online she can't meet more people. And while I can understand that, I barely make enough to save up while I'm paying some bills at home. I plan to let it go until her mother comes back, but I told her I wouldn't be taking her shopping or to friends' places in the meantime after what she did. She calls up her paternal side of the family, who proceed to blast me on social media as the bad aunt, and they said really vulgar things too. So am I the idiot for not wanting to help my niece out after this happened? I can't do much until her mother gets back to handle her, but I am starting to get annoyed by her dad's side attacking me online. Not the idiot. I would, privately, let her dad's side know that she stole money from you. I'm assuming they don't have the whole story. Although, people who blast others on social media are, in my experience, not the most logical people. Take the items away from her. She doesn't get to keep them since she stole the money from you to buy them. Maybe you can sell them on eBay to get some of the money back if they can't be returned. Tell the paternal side of the family that they are more than welcome to take the teenager off your hands and pay you back for her mistakes if they don't like how you discipline her. She's 16, she's old enough to realize that theft is wrong. Not the idiot, but when you called the bank, did you specifically say the charges were fraudulent? It sounds like this was a debit card, so your protection isn't as strong as with a credit card. But the bank may be able to block some charges and it will reissue a new card. Also, remind her family that they don't know this is the first time she's done this. They only know this is the first time she's been caught.